is to do something in the dream that's been referenced from outside the dream.
Okay.
Now, if we do that, now the Course in Miracles, from my money, in this dream, the book we have in front of us, like I can say, what are we going to do? Well, I've got this book that came from a ridiculous source.
Well, practice the lessons.
No, I know, but the book itself is from outside the dream. Okay, this book.
Oh, right. It's been dropped into my dream.
This came from outside the dream, and it snuck into the dream through these folks that were in the MK Ultra program at the University of Psychology at Columbia or whatever. You know, however it got here, it came in. And why do I trust it? And why don't I think that the CIA did the book? It's because it has such inner coherence.
Right.
Even within the dream, I see it. There's a coherence in the book that's not available in the finest literature.
Right.
Okay? Let's be honest.
Right.
And then the fact that it's got 365 lessons, and the fact that some lady supposedly just knocked this thing out.
Over 7 years.
Well, I mean, but you know what I'm saying.
That's a long time.
So, okay, so I to me, factoid established, this is from outside the dream, which means I'm in a dream.
I mean, we have a story.
Don't I have a thread going? Can't we get out of here?
Yeah, by using the book. Yes. Read it, practice it, study it.
Well, I don't know that reading and practicing it does as much as just recognizing that it crept in here somehow.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
But the book does. You're right, though. It does give some instruction.
It does give very good instruction. Today's reading is from chapter 22, Salvation and the Holy Relationship, and we're reading from section 5, Weakness and Defensiveness. How does one overcome illusions? Surely not by force or anger, nor by opposing them in any way, merely by letting reason tell you that they contradict reality. They go against what must be true. The opposition comes from them and not reality. Reality opposes nothing. What merely is needs no defense and offers none. Only illusions need defense because of weakness. And how can it be difficult to walk the way of truth when only weakness interferes? You are the strong one in this seeming conflict, and you need no defense. Everything that needs defense you do not want, for anything that needs defense will weaken you. The opposite of the ways of the world.
Right.
So I thought that we should just go over reason one more time.
Okay.
because I get confused by what reason is, and I realize that I have not used logic and reason a whole lot in my life. So
before you even move on, what you say you haven't used logic and reason, but you think you have.
Yeah, I
right?
think I have.
So
yes.
What have you been doing? I mean, why do you think that you haven't used logic and reason?
I don't think it. I think it's something that isn't taught. There's a tendency.
No, but what have you done instead?
What have I done instead? I've relied on emotions. I've relied on feelings. I've relied on,
How about facts?
Facts.
How about facts? You've relied on facts.
I have relied on.
And where did those facts
come
from?
And what perceived to be facts.
Where did
the
facts
world.
Come from?
The dictionary, Britannica, the internet. Facts come from, and also from being taught from parents and school teachers and stuff like that.
Facts come from the factory.
Give me a break.
Think about it. It's a factory.
Okay, a fact.
And that's where facts come from.
Okay.
In other words, facts, what we know of as facts, are manufactured, manufactured based on what.
Well, that's a good point.
What we expect.
Oh.
What we expect to have be real. In other words, there's an agreement reality here, and you could write it down on a piece of paper. Is there going to be peace in the world? Probably not.
Yeah.
Is there, are you going to love everybody? Well, probably not. Are you going to be healthy all your life long? Well, Probably not.
Right.
I'm probably going to run into something. Hope not, but that's how. Those are facts.
Right.
And then we go and you say, well, do you have some ideas against that? Well, find me some statistics. And
Check in with the experts.
That's what we've considered.
Yes.
That's what we have considered reason or logic.
Right.
Facts.
But this
supported by statistics.
This reason speaks to reality, and reason there means that because reality is whole and it's one, and it cannot be divided, and it is all of all, love of love, it is the ultimate of all things, then when I choose illusions, anything that I look upon or see separate or judge against and everything else, which is how I perceive most of my world, that is not reality. And so I can use reason to understand that if reason is whole, anything that I see as separate or perceive as separate is not true seeing. It's not true vision. It is a sense of, you're over there, I'm over here, the table's beneath me, things like that. I place myself within a location. But this is saying that reality opposes nothing, because reality cannot be changed. It's unchangeable. Whereas everything that I perceive in this world does change. It is changeable. So I can use reason, saying that the world I see changes all the time. It's temporal. It has temporality. And so therefore is not the real world. So the only reason why I go through that is because I have to remind myself of how to use reason, because it was not taught for me how to use reason as a child. I just kind of went about letting people and pablum and things come at me, and then facts of the world to teach me what I'm supposed to right or wrong and all that kind of stuff. But this is using real logic and reason.
Well, the trouble with reason, according to the Course, the problem that I would start off with, just to try to argue from where we come from, is, first of all, if you're in the world that we're in, you want to start off and say, does God exist or does God not exist? Are we in a unified, holistic reality, or are we in a fragmented reality? Well, something that resembles reason here can prove that this place is absolutely fragmented into atoms and molecules and different factions and countries and opinions. The whole place is shattered, right? Where we are, it's shattered. So if you're saying that reason proves that it is...
well, it says it needs no defense.
It's unified. Well, I know, but I'm saying that the reality that we're given here, the reality I'm given here, is shattered, is fragmented, does need defense. I'm just saying, let's start.
Okay. Start
from where we are, because you can't start from where you're not. You have to start from where you are.
That's true.
And that's reasonable. Okay? That's reason. I have to start from where I am. I can't start from where I'm not.
Right.
And where I am is, I see a fragmented world. I see isolated things all around me. I see problems in a shattered world like this. Now, let me ask you this. Why are we talking about reason? Does it use the word reason in this paragraph? Or
yes.
Where? Which one? Where?
Yes, it says it right in the beginning. Merely by letting reason tell you that they contradict reality. Merely by letting reason tell you that they contradict reality. So how does one overcome illusions? Okay, that's the first question. How does one overcome illusions? Surely not by force or anger, nor by opposing them in any way. Because if you're using defenses, then you're defending the illusion. Merely by letting reason tell you that they contradict reality. Now, the reason why I went through all of that reasoning is because if a person is just picking up on this and they haven't done the course in a little while and everything else, you got to kind of get back into what is the course meaning by reality? What is the course meaning by reason? They go against what must be true. The opposites come from them and not reality.
Okay, let me throw this out, and it might not. I don't know if it's appropriate or not. You can use almost anything, like let's say a river flowing, and water is moving along this river. Now, if I'm just looking at it, like an alien from another planet, Do I know that the water is being, do I know whether or not it's being pulled out of some source, or that it's starting at a source and going that way? In other words, do I know that the destination of the water is determining that there is water? You assume that it's coming from a source, and that would be reasonable even if you're an alien. You would have to say, no, it doesn't make any sense that the water is somehow manifested at the let's say the Gulf of America, and that it's being pulled out of Minneapolis or something.
Right. Right.
You have to assume that it starts up there wherever it is in Minnesota somewhere, the Mississippi River, I'm saying, and then it terminates. So that's one. Sun rays. The sun is hitting my skin. You can't assume that the sun exists to shine. To shine light on me. That it's more likely that I exist. That my life is thank you very much to the sun, because the sun provides life, light and life, therefore vegetation and whatnot. So that's reason. You go back to a source. And so now for some reason, people, there seems to be a polemic, which means arguable. There's a polemic between, let's say, whether God exists or not,
right,
or whether a certain political system works or not, or whether that we have these polemics, and we're allowed to argue endlessly on these things, and they sort of, you just have to end it with maybe so, maybe not. Anything like that. Somebody can say, well, that violates natural law, and someone else can say natural law was determined by society. That there's no, so that those are polemics, and the Course is saying. What I understand from the Course, if I use reason, it will result in understanding unity. It will result in drawing things. How does one overcome illusions?
Yes.
Okay, so let's continue with your thought, because I kind of derailed this. Where do you want to go with the reason thing?
Well, I just wanted to just review that, if we know that God is all, then all things are within all. And so all cannot be divided. So therefore, that's how I reason my way out of the illusion.
Can you reason your way forward towards God just for kicks? I know that we're prejudiced, right? We've already got an idea where we want to go with this thing.
Yes.
But how would you reason toward God? Let's say I'm an atheist, or I believe in a fragmented universe, and I think that post-constructive, post-rational reality.
I'm not very good at debating those things.
Well, okay.
I'm just not, because to me it's all experiential, and if a person does not want to experience anything beyond what they want to experience as the divided world, then they will not. There's just.
Well, let me say this: I have a factoid.
Okay.
A factoid. And a factoid is that simultaneity is real. That it's found in a molecular basis. Simultaneity, in other words, you have a molecular particle, and it's doing the same thing here as it's doing over there 500 miles away. That, so, and I don't want to get into the physics aspect. Those are studies. It has to do with the new physics or whatnot. Another aspect of simultaneity is, as I've said in other places, you could film Joanna and I talking, and you think, well, I go like this, and then she nods like this, and so you say, well, that's cause effect, separated by time. Right. Cause effect. That's not the case. If you take a film of us, or a mother and a child, or anyone who's in communication with each other, there's not a cause and effect. It is simultaneous. In other words, there's no way that blink of yours would correspond with some movement by me, unless we were linked.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's a linkage.
Right, that's the oneness.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Is that using just a factoid, if you just try to understand, and then there are many, many studies in that way, just even if you're using the scientific method, and if we want, and we are in that world. So anyway, that's one thing. It is possible to reason towards unity, and the Course in Miracles is saying that if you use reason, it will result in the one.
Right.
It will lead to the one.
truth.
It will not lead to revelation. It will not lead to vision. But reason will lead towards there. In other words, reason is a tool that can be used by the Holy Spirit.
Right. Yes.
But it is not the Holy Spirit.
I'm going to say for myself, even using the terminology and everything, it just, maybe I didn't take enough physics, maybe I didn't take logic, I don't know, but it just like, when it started using these words, I was like, okay, I thought I was reasonable, but I don't think I understand reason. So I don't know if I confused anyone or not, but at any rate, I thought it was important to remember that if you can start from the premise that there's only one, therefore anything that is divided from the one is I am not having vision, I am perceiving the illusion.
Okay, well,
and only illusions need defense because of weakness. And how can it be difficult to walk the way of truth when only weakness interferes? So, and it reminds me that you are the strong one in this seeming conflict, and you need no defense. At any rate, it's just reminding me that of the truth of who I am, that I can use reason to get myself to remember, just by the language of the Course, there's only one. And so therefore I can find my way in realizing what is the illusion and what is not. That's what I really just wanted to say. I don't know. Anyway, let's go on.
No, I think it's good. But before we move on,
okay.
What do you consider an illusion? Am I an illusion? Is this house an illusion?
Yeah, all of it is.
Do you consider it an illusion?
I don't consider it in my daily life an illusion. I consider it as my part of my reality.
Right, but within the dream, you've been told by the Course, as you were told by the encyclopedia, certain facts that were substantiated.
Well, I've had by doing the Course, I have had experiences of oneness. So I know that when I experienced that oneness, I actually sort of laughed at the fact that I thought that I decided to take on a body almost. It was like, isn't that interesting? Well, at least I chose kind of a good body. I actually had that thought. Well, at least I chose kind of a good body, because it was not as if I identified as the body at all at that moment. The body was an extra.
Have you ever, in a dream, while you're having a dream, have you ever had a moment to where you question the reality of the dream while you're in the dream?
No, I've had moments where I said I recognized that I was in the dream and I wanted to get out of the dream. It's usually in a nightmare thing. All of a sudden I go, I think I might be dreaming. And then as a child, I used to run to windows and just pull back the curtains, because if the light would come in, I would wake up.
Why don't we think that we're in a dream when we're sleeping? Why do I not notice that I'm able to jump, let's say, in leaps of 200 yards at a shot? Why don't I? Why?
I don't know. It's because that's your reality at the time. The mind is in that reality at that time, and so it doesn't consider that it would do anything. It doesn't even question it, does it? It doesn't question what it's experiencing.
As we don't question this.
Right, we don't. Right.
So it says, how does one overcome illusion? Surely I'm not force or anger or opposing them in any way. It's merely by letting reason tell you that they contradict reality. But the reality of the dream is the dream, and the reality of this dream is this dream. Mm-hmm. And so there is no contradiction here, regardless of what happens. There are no contradictions. So let's say we are in a dream. Suddenly, let's ratchet down.
Okay.
How do we wake up? What do we do?
That's the question.
No, really, how do we get out of here? Where's somebody sleeping off in the other room? What the hell are we going to do?
I don't know. You tell me. I don't really know at that point. The thing of it is...
Think it out. What are we going to do about this? We're scheming. We're conspiring to get out of this dream. What do we do?
I'm going to have to call on the Holy Spirit. I know, this is what I mean. Logic is not very good in my mind. Okay, help me. Help me.
That's a start, isn't it? That's a start. Okay, wait a second. Let's think this out. Okay, so we're in a dream. Are you with us on this?
Yeah, are you with us?
Are you dreaming us? Anyway, so we're in a dream and we want to wake up. What do you do when you want? Now, Don Juan.
I told you what I did
I
in the
go
dream.
to the book, okay?
I
The book.
run to the light.
In Don Juan, in Don Juan, in the book, one of a Journey to Eastland, Yaqui Way of Knowledge, I can't remember, but one of the Don Juan books, he said, this is what you do. During the day, remind yourself to look at your hand. Mm-hmm. Remind yourself to look at your hand. And that way, when you're in your dream.
Oh, yeah. I did those.
When you're in your dream and then you look at your hand in the dream.
And when you see it in real life, you wait and remember your dream.
What'll happen is that, but you will remember in the dream, why am I looking at my hand?
Oh.
And that links you to the voice that's outside of that dream that said, look at your hand.
Oh.
No, I've kind of tried that and I've not done it, but that's the logic. Right?
Okay.
Is to do something in the dream that's been referenced from outside the dream.
Okay.
Now, if we do that, now the Course in Miracles, from my money in this dream, the book we have in front of us, like I can say, what are we going to do? Well, I've got this book that came from a ridiculous source.
Well, practice the lessons.
No, I know, but the book itself is from outside the dream. Okay, this book.
Oh, right. It's been dropped into my dream.
This came from outside the dream, and it snuck into the dream through these folks that were in the MK Ultra program at the University of Psychology at Columbia or whatever. You know, however it got here, it came in. And why do I trust it? And why don't I think that the CIA did the book? Is because it has such inner coherence.
Right.
Even within the dream, I see it. There's a coherence in the book that's not available in the finest literature.
Right.
Okay? Let's be honest.
Right.
And then the fact that it's got 365 lessons and the fact that some lady supposedly just knocked this thing out, you know.
Over 7 years.
Well, I mean, but you know what I'm saying.
That's a long time.
So, okay, so I to me, factoid established, this is from outside the dream, which means I'm in a dream. Mm-hmm. If this came from outside the dream, did it come from another planet? Where did it come from? This thing.
I don't know. I mean, we have a story.
Don't I have a thread going? Can't we get out of here?
Yeah, by using the book. Yes. Read it, practice it, study it.
Well, I don't know that reading and practicing it does as much as just recognizing that it crept in here somehow.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
But the book does. You're right, though. It does give some instruction.
It does give very good instruction.
Anyway, so because the reason I'm going into that extent is because what's an illusion? Is World War II an illusion? Are you an illusion? Yeah. Is my depression an illusion? Is my elation an illusion?
Right.
How do we determine even what an illusion is? How do you overcome illusions? Well, first of all, what are they?
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it says, how do you overcome what illusion? Ask yourself, what's an illusion for you? Like I said, you got to I didn't, but let's say I have in the past, get a letter from the IRS and say, I'm going to, you owe me $1,100 that you don't have. Okay? Mm-hmm. It's an illusion. I'm not going to pay attention. Well, no, it's in the dream. It's very coherent. Right. Uh-huh. Now, do I just say this is an illusion? I'm not going to.
No. Because you believe in the illusion.
Now, there is a level of reality outside of that letter from the IRS. Mm-hmm. Does the IRS have authority over me? Mm-hmm. And then I go, yes. And he wilts. Uh-huh.
Weakness. No, you're not weak. You're strong.
I don't have anything.
Right.
IRS has got me by the pinky, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
You know? And then you go, that can't be so. Uh-huh. No, wait a second. I'm not going with that one. I don't like that particular storyline. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Isn't that how we get out of here? And then you start to wonder. Then you say, okay, Course in Miracles came from someplace. Why would I not be able to contact that place?
good logic.
Right?
See, I'm not good at that. Okay, go ahead.
And so that the IRS is coming at me from a small town in Puerto Rico.
That's right. It is.
Anyway, so the IRS is coming at me with their letter, and I go, I don't think so. This book came from outside there, and this book is saying that there's an authority. I'm subject to an authority that has a higher reality, than the IRS.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm frightened by the IRS. They scare me.
Right.
And weakness and defensiveness.
Well, and I can tell that story about the creditors finding me after being very, very poor, and it was right at the end of its statute of limitations, and my transportation is a bicycle. At any rate, and I pull up on my bicycle where I'm living temporarily, and someone hands me a thing.
You've been served.
You've been served. Are you so-and-so? Are you Joanne?
You're $20,000 in debt. You've been served,
Yep,
and now you
and
got to
now you're
figure it
like,
out.
So
Where did you go next?
the next thing I said, because, I knew I was dodging it for many years, that I said, all right. I had a little altar at the time and everything else. I go, all right, I accept this. As
You accepted responsibility for the problem.
Yeah, I accept my responsibility for this part of the problem. So I will go.
You did it.
Yeah, I did it. I admitted it to myself, and then I said, okay, the first step is let me go see a bankruptcy guy. But I did all the research on its statute of limitations. I had all the piles of old receipts or whatever. I mean, the bills and stuff like that I kept. And I said, when did this all fall apart? And I went through the whole process. I found the beginning, the date that they would need and all this kind of stuff. And I started to lie it all out. And I said, I can be darned. I said, but I think I missed the statute of limitations by 2 weeks.
Okay, now I want to know why in the dream you're being delivered from your illusions.
Because
that's what we're talking about.
Okay, so
we're not talking about the
so
bank.
the thing of it is that I do believe in a higher self. I do believe in an authority over me. And I said,
why isn't it right for them to crush you under their thumb or their heel? Why isn't it right? You blew off those payments.
I decided, first of all, I wasn't going to be afraid of it, and I was going to just approach it. I actually did use the course. I mean, I'd been practicing the course then and everything. And so I said, okay, accept the responsibility for this. And I went through the process, and I saw the guy, and I told him that I figured it out, and I think that I missed the statute of limitations. I don't think that they have a case against me. And he looked at it, and he goes, I think you might be right. And the thing of it is, I laid all of it did a prayer. I laid it all on the altar, and I said, whatever will be, will be.
Okay,
So the thing of it is I did rely on authority greater than myself. I handed it over. I decided not to worry about it too much, although I wrote the letter like over and over and over again that was going to go to the judge, saying why I thought that the case should be thrown out, basically. And I won. But at any rate, the thing of it is that in the dream, I said to myself, it can go this way or that. It's one of those Schrodinger's cat moments. Yeah. It's a Schrodinger's cat moment where I go, it can go this way, it can go that way. And I said, if God feels or the higher authority feels as though this is the burden I need to take on at this time, then I'm willing to accept it.
Why should the higher authority get you off the hook? Why?
I didn't know why it should get me off the hook, except I was willing to rely on it versus myself to get me through it. That was the only thing. I was relying on it, meaning the Holy Spirit or Jesus or however you guys work with, the higher authority. But that's what I did, and I was very humble about my position. I said, well, I dodged it for a long time. And if this is supposed to be my karma in life or whatever it is, it's part of my learning, then I'm willing to take it on. But it ended up not being.
We're talking in the prior.
So, I mean, that to me, that the dream answered in a beautiful way and said, this is not, you don't need to carry this. You don't need to take it with you. Nothing needs to happen, and it just came and went.
I'm going to say that there's some cause and effect going on here. Using reason.
Okay.
This is where I've come to, and I might be wrong, and there might be this might be a heresy. Okay, this could be a Course in Miracles or Christian or whatever heresy.
Okay.
Is that when you get off the hook, basically, we had the other episodes about the bicycle ride and the shadow and all that kind of thing. It means that suddenly the shadow doesn't have to slam into the curb. The shadow suddenly doesn't have to go ramming into rocks and stretch 12 feet and then be compressed 6 inches. It doesn't. The shadow starts to exercise agency. The life in the illusion, the illusory life. How does one overcome illusions? Not by force. By letting reason tell you that they contradict reality. So, in other words, me as an illusion, I have to come to a place to where I'm not an illusion.
Right.
And I can look at the IRS, or in your case, you look at this debt
Creditor,
that you had,
yeah.
the creditor, and you say, I'm in a dream world here, but I've got another reality. And it's important, I think, to establish what that reality is so that you can feel the powerful agency of that bicycle rider, of that other realm.
Yes, right.
Because you don't change the dream, but you are able to contact the one that is changing
That's
the
right.
dream.
That's
what I think.
Contact the Holy Spirit or whatever.
Right,
Yes.
right. Now, how do you do that? It's like if the dream is going to instruct me, in other words, if you were going to truly learn your lesson, to give an example, you're going to truly learn your supposed lesson about blowing off debt or getting into a bad relationship or believing people you shouldn't or whatever kind of crazy thing that you got yourself into.
That's right.
If you're going to learn better from getting banged around on the rocks, the bicycle rider or whatever is going to say, have at it. This is what you paid for.
Yeah.
This is what you're in for. Feel the pain. Feel the pain.
That's right.
But as an illusion and as a dream, and I say, wait a second, I've done this before. I've been here before. I've done this before. There's got to be more than this. And I try to understand that I am tied to something else. And I commit my stakes within myself to that something else. It's not like, Mr. Wizard, save me.
No, right.
It's
right.
not just
No,
get
it's
me
not.
out of here because I'm in pain. It's like, I've told this story before. I'll try to be brief. I know we're going really long on this first paragraph.
Right.
But beautiful story by Jack Roverland at the Unity
I was
Church.
thinking of that one.
It's impossible. I wish I had it on tape. I wish you could be there. I wish you could see Jack Roverland telling the story of his origins. And he goes, I bet you're wondering why this guy in a lavender shirt with these pants, and he looks like Jack Palance with a little goatee. He looks like the devil.
Yeah.
And he goes, I bet you're wondering why a guy that looks like an LA dance instructor is, preaching at the Unity Church in Boulder. And he says, well, I'm going to tell you the story. And he talks about being in front of a courtroom, and he says, I'm tying my shoes tighter and tighter, and I'm wearing nothing but leather shoes and socks, my boxer shorts,
And a trench
and
coat.
a trench coat. That's all I had on because you know why? Because they were going to issue my clothes. I was on my way to the big house. He's on his way to state penitentiary or federal penitentiary, whatever.
Right.
And he said, all I have to say is nobody got hurt and it wasn't my fault, okay? Which is every guy in there says this. But anyway, so he says this, and he goes, and I was tying my shoes very tightly because I knew that there is no way they're going to put me in there. So he bolts the doors. He sees the doors open up, and they're going to file him out to the paddy wagon. And he said he sprinted. He hit it, and he bolts out into the street. Immediately, guys with guns cocked, running everywhere, and he's bolting down the street before anybody can run. Ducks here, ducks there, hides here, hides there. And he's got a very wonderful, long, dramatic story about what he went through. Anyway, at some point, he's watching the Tijuana taxis, the lights, and the cop cars, and the sirens,
down
and
under
the
like
warnings,
some vents
and
or something.
they're going to catch this guy.
Right.
And he gets down under one of these, like basement accesses off of a sidewalk.
Right.
And he's peeking out through a little crack in the basement access, and he's watching people run by, and he's watching people over there, and they're shouting, and they're trying to find him. So he says, while I'm in there, I said, God, if you exist, if you get me out of this, I will. And he goes, you know what you realize? If you bargain with God,
That's right.
you get what you ask for. God gets everything.
That's right.
It's a great line.
I know.
You bargain,
Right.
God gets your life.
That's right.
You know, in other words, if you strike that bargain. And so he said, at that moment, a bus pulls along at the end of the street. There seemed to be some clearing out of the activity, like they had combed the area and they gave up on him a little bit. And he said he throws that thing up and he bolts down there. And the doors open up. He says, like these gates open. He gets into the bus full of people, and the bus driver looks at him like this, and he goes, sit in the back.
Yeah.
And he goes on all the rounds with the bus driver. He goes everywhere around Chicago area, and the bus driver ends, and at the end of the day, he goes to the bus station, and he says, the bus driver stops him, and Jack says he's the last one on the bus. Bus driver hands him $20. Now, this is when $20 meant something, right?
Right.
The bus driver hands him $20 and says, I suggest you get out of town.
Yeah.
And he says, the rest of the story is, he went out of town. He changed his name. He went to the Unity Temple and became a minister, and that's how I got here to be.
Yes, I know.
So
it's a great story. I met him as well. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is about this whole game of working the illusion is that the only way to get out of the illusion is to be committed outside the illusion, which Jack Roverland said, I will donate this body.
Right.
I will donate this body to what? I mean, is he better off than he was in prison? He kind of laughs about that, whether he is or not.
We just did the fork in the road or whatever, the branching road. Yes, the last one. And that's the decisive moment, there you come to those forks in the road, and it's like, well, are you gonna constantly just keep playing the illusion game, or are you gonna take that and say, with this, whatever I have, whatever my willingness is, you go and you walk towards the light of God, and that's what you do. Yeah.
Anyway, I know that.
Thank you for following along with us. All of that.
Okay, all right.
All right. Let's go on to paragraph 2.
Paragraph 2. Consider what the ego wants defenses for. Always to justify what goes against the truth, flies in the face of reason, and makes no sense. Can this be justified? What can this be except an invitation to insanity, to save you from the truth? And what would you be saved from but what you fear? Belief in sin needs great defense, and at enormous cost. All that the Holy Spirit offers must be defended against and sacrificed. For sin is carved into a block out of your peace and laid between you and its return. Now, what I want to point out about your story, because actually Joanna's story is quite miraculous. It's pretty wonderful.
Right,
right.
Right.
And it happened in real time.
Yeah, it happened.
And you exercised a lot of discipline. You did a lot of homework, but you got a lot of help,
Yes.
But that help that you got didn't deliver you from doing serious homework to get the facts straight.
Yeah, I got the facts straight. I wrote my own letter to the point where when I went to the judge, he says, I see you got a lawyer. And I said, nope, I wrote it. He goes, good job.
So my point being is, in this world where you are,
yes.
Now you might have all kinds of beliefs about yourself.
Yes.
Given a prior relationship and given, let's say, the debt that you were in and all these kinds of boondoggles, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's all one bad thing after another. But when it comes down to a moment of choice and you say, ultimately, something in you goes, I got to be better than this. Mm-hmm. And it's not an egoic, I got to be better than this. It's like, surely this life isn't just for this.
Right, exactly.
Any miracle that I've received, I can go back to it. And there's always been a core thing of like, this is nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
This makes no sense for anybody. Why, whether it's a phrase like, God, why are you wasting me? Not like I'm so great.
Right, no, I understand.
But it's like, holy cow, I mean, you got to be here for
And he looks
something.
and you go, why are you wasting yourself?
Well, no, well, the thing is, then there's the comeback. Okay, help me out then, big guy.
Exactly.
Help me out,
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm doing what I can.
Right, exactly. Uh-huh.
So give me some help here. You're out there treading water and you're looking for a life preserver. And if you get the life preserver, you get hauled into the bosom of God. You don't get to just get out and do whatever you want to do, whether it's an illness or anything else.
So I probably took you off base or whatever, but it says, consider what the ego wants defenses for. I mean, and in this paragraph. Because belief in sin needs great defense and enormous cost.
But the reason I said that, okay, thank you for reminding me. The reason I said that is because if you think, I'm going to beat this thing, that's what you say to yourself. I'm going to beat this thing. I'm going to go at it. It takes these great defenses. You've pitted yourself against a formidable organization,
right?
The debt collection agency. And God is sitting there watching with his arms crossed and, hey, let's see how this goes. And maybe you win and maybe you lose. But you learn your lesson, how small you are. You learn how insignificant you are in the face of that, let's say. But if prior to that you contract with, let's call it for the purpose of the Course in Miracles, the Holy Spirit. I contract with the Holy Spirit. I have transcended the rule book of the world.
That's right.
I've transcended it.
Yeah, definitely.
And you got to go with that and refresh that contract as often as is necessary. It said it in that last one we had. I couldn't believe it. 1,000 times a day, who walks with me?
Right.
1,000 times a day. We figured that out. It's more than once a minute.
Right.
If you say 1,000 times who walks with me, it's more than one time a minute.
Right. That was in a lesson.
Yeah, was that in a lesson?
Yeah, it was in a lesson.
Okay, well, it was in a lesson.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is that if you're going to go up against the man, if you're going to go up against your foe here, it takes great defenses. You got to fight. It takes tooth and nail. You got to be engaged. We'll see how this works out.
Yeah. Lots of expensive lawyers. Yeah. And so it says that belief in sin, which is the separation and seeing yourself as little or grandiose or whatever, needs great defense and at enormous cost. Could be money, could be just an enormous cost of all kinds of things.
Now, what's this line here? I don't understand. It says,
all that the Holy Spirit offers must be defended against and sacrificed. That's if you side with the belief in sin. For sin is carved into the block out of your peace and laid between you and its return. So you sacrifice, by believing in sin, by believing in your separateness, you end up cutting yourself off from peace. And it's laid between you and its return, the ability for peace to come back to you. So now you're not at peace. You're staying in fear because your belief in sin has put you in prison.
Am I reading this right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Belief in sin needs great defense and an enormous cost. All that the Holy Spirit, didn't say ego, all that the Holy Spirit offers must be defended against and sacrificed.
Right, because the belief in sin is what causes you to do that. That what the Holy Spirit is offering you is now defended against and sacrificed because I believe in sin. All that the Holy Spirit offers me because I literally shut off my communication with the Holy Spirit by believing in sin and defending my world.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I might do some editing here. I don't know, but the Holy Spirit.
It's not saying that the Holy Spirit needs to be defended against and sacrificed, or that what it offers needs to be defended against and sacrificed. It says that's what will happen if you believe in sin and defend your position in your separateness.
Wow, I'm having an amazing confluence of strange meanings here, because my argument in this is that the entire reality is God.
Right.
And in other words, what I hear it saying, correct me, please, that if I side with the ego, and therefore I've decided to fight my enemies and defend myself and fear and all these other things, that it's still the Holy Spirit that's feeding.
Yeah, the Holy
to
Spirit
me.
is giving it to you, but you can't receive it because you believe in your defenses. You cannot receive it until you let down those defenses. The Holy Spirit's offering your way out, but you got to lay it down. It was that moment for Jack Overland where he goes, "You got my life, okay?" But if he doesn't say that, and he's going to just continue running in the streets, and he doesn't have that way out.
I know, but this is the hound of heaven, you see. This is the hound of heaven where, let's say God is chasing me like a dog. God is chasing you down the alleys, and you're dodging and you're running. No matter how fast you run, the dog is always right there ready to get you. And it's God is the dog. Well, you're terrified. That's why you're running. And until you stop
Right.
and let it overwhelm you,
Well, that's true, too.
can you realize that it was God? Can you realize that it was your blessing? Can you realize only when you lay down your defenses?
Right.
But until then, you thought it was a dog and you thought it was going to chew your leg off.
Right. That's definitely a way to look at it, too. Yes. Exactly.
Well, I know, that's pretty weird. Got to think about it.
No, okay. All right, let's go on to paragraph 3. Luckily, this is a short section, so we got lots of time to talk. Okay, paragraph 3. Yet how can peace be so fragmented? It is still whole, and nothing has been taken from it. See how the means and the material of evil dreams are nothing. In truth, you and your brother stand together with nothing in between. God holds your hands, and what can separate whom he has joined as one with him? It is your father whom you would defend against, yet it remains impossible to keep love out. God rests with you in quiet, undefended, and wholly undefending, for in this quiet state alone is strength and power. Here can no weakness enter, for here is no attack, and therefore no illusions. Love rests in certainty. Only uncertainty can be defensive, and all uncertainty is doubt about yourself.
It's more of the same. I mean,
Yeah.
it said it.
So,
it is your
peace.
father whom you would defend against. It is your father whom you would defend against. It's more of the same thing. Is that, okay, I'm in a world where the blessings of God are raining down on me like sunshine, okay? I don't want to get a sunburn, so I do everything I can to stay out of the sunlight.
Right.
And if I spend the rest of my life trying to find shadow from the
Yes.
sunlight. And that's the blessings
Where
of God.
is it that somewhere in the Bible about the refiner's fire? The refiner's fire. They do it in the Messiah. The refiner's fire.
Yeah.
The refining fire. So you have to surrender yourself into the refining fire. Go for it.
I know, but it means that anything is a refining fire. All the things that I would defend against, all the
Yes. Well, that's true.
things I would defend against are the refiner's fire.
Yeah. I could see that. Yeah.
And
So-
the only clue. Mine. Anyway. Anyway, you know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
That
Yes.
means that anything, okay, take anything.
Anything. You name one.
See, mind blown, because it means that no matter what it is, I'm saying it usually is the thing you want to defend against and fix is that precious relationship that was lost, or that hellish relationship you would like to escape, or that money problem that you would like to escape, or that money desire that you would like to pursue, or sickness, that health problem that cost $1 gazillion to fix, or is unfixable. It goes on and on.
Right.
So what it's saying is those are all blessings, okay? blessings. Do you understand what it's saying?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I want to defend, I want to fix, I want to attack.
Yeah.
All of those.
Mm-hmm.